We all come to races like this, hoping for the perfect story, the clean build-up, the peak form, the triumphant finish, but sometimes the story doesn't go that way. Sometimes the plane turns around mid-flight. Sometimes the legs don't show up. And sometimes the race that you trained months for becomes something else entirely. At the Rift, I didn't get to race the way that I had planned. I didn't get to make the film that I had laid out for months. But maybe that's the point. Some days aren't about performance. They're about letting go, and about finding joy in the unexpected. Finding joy not in something that we have built up ourselves, but finding joy in the simple beauty of God's creation. This isn't the story I thought I'd tell, but it certainly is still a good one.
Well, just an explosive morning in Iceland as a volcano erupted in the southwest part of the country. Here's video from this outbreak near Iceland's capital, which has seen an increase in activity over the last few years. Officials say while this is a small eruption, people have been evacuated from the Blue Lagoon. It's a popular spa resort that you may have heard of or even been to.
So many carrots.
We finally made it. Crazy drive up to the race town, crazy travel. I'm exhausted, but we've got a ride in a little bit, so we gotta get this thing built.
From like Unbound, I guess. So I'm gonna have to order some Dubnatals like next week. Yeah, there's a bunch of them. I think it's like, it just looks really bad, but I don't think it's actually like past the casing. Because otherwise they'd be flat.
Yeah,
exactly.
This is the same tire I flatted last week. Just wanted to take a quick second to thank Lauf Cycles, our bike sponsor, for putting us up here. We were staying right there, right near the start, which was super awesome, so big thanks to them. Alright, so let's recap the story so far. So far, we have tried to fly to Iceland, we've gotten turned around on a flight to Iceland, we got a few nights of bad sleep in between all that, then we finally got to Iceland, and now we've been here for a total of about 4 hours. We've done one pre-ride, not even on the course, so we have no idea what that looks like. We only have a little bit of time before we have to go to sleep to wake up at a reasonable time for the race. We are close to the start, which is a perk, but that doesn't help with the fact that our rice cooker caught on fire. I have no dinner. Nina, my manager, gave me some rice. Shout out to Nina. I bought an avocado at the store. We couldn't read what was different about the avocado. There was one avocado that was $200, one that was $800, and apparently the $200 avocados stay green until the next morning and aren't even that brown after the race the next day. So definitely buy the $200 avocados. So, with all that in mind, we have about one night of bad sleep left to get before the start in the morning, going into this not knowing how the legs will react after such a chaotic week, and not knowing where my mind will be after such a stressful week. So, as you can tell, it was raining on race morning, which left me a bit of a dilemma as to what to wear. I went with a bit of an unconventional option with shorts and a winter jacket. I knew that it was going to be colder once we got up into the highlands, so I didn't want to be cold, but I also didn't want to be too hot. So I went with this combo knowing that I could unzip the jacket to cool off. There'll be links in the description to all of this gear. Thank you so much to all of our sponsors who make this possible. So as we started off here, I decided that I might as well go out fast and see what I did have in the legs, knowing that I probably wouldn't have much. I thought it'd still be fun to see how far I could make it with this front group. I like this format of start where we all start together, the pros and the amateurs. It makes it fun. When editing this, I wrote a whole script explaining this route, but I kept rewriting it, and every time I rewrote it, I realized that there's not much I can do to explain what this course is. I can tell you how bumpy all the rocks were, and I can tell you how long it felt even though it was only 200 kilometers. I can tell you how I think it was harder than Unbound, but ultimately, I don't think any of that comes close to seeing it for yourself. I can only hope that this video can communicate some of the beauty of this route, but I would certainly encourage anyone that wants to see it more to go buy a plane ticket to Iceland right now. It's definitely worth it. So with that said, I'll let this route speak for itself. So at this point, I am about halfway through, and on paper, it looks like all I have to do now is make it a little bit further until the final climb, which looks pretty smooth on the profile, and then do this one final climb, and then the last 30 miles should be downhill. But because of how steep this next climb was, and because of how rough all of the descending is, it took me almost 2 hours longer coming back than it did going out. I am still having a lot of fun though.
Yeah. Easily just as hard or harder than Unbound.
I've done Unbound. This is hard.
Yeah, I did Unbound this year.
I did last year. Unbound gravel's in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
Jumping in one more time here to just acknowledge the fact that I am riding my bike on a volcano right now. I never thought that I would say that, but I am riding my bike on a volcano for the second time this year because I climbed Haleakala in January. So, yeah, bikes on volcanoes. We can do that now. There was a finish line out there somewhere, but that's not where the story ends. Because the most meaningful miles aren't the ones at the end. They're the ones where you wanted to quit and didn't. Where everything hurt, but the view made you smile. Where you remembered why you came in the first place. No, this race was not the perfect race, but it was real, and sometimes that's enough. Let me leave you with the 4 words that I wrote on my number plate. The only 4 words that I needed to remember on this day. Have fun. Thank God.